Welcome. You are listening to Rev Up with Alanis Marketing, and I'm your host, Roxanne Alanis. I want to ask you one last thing. Along the journey, you were talking about having a couple of jobs and then coming home at night and working at night on building your business. Tell me how you balance it all with family and raising children and
Yeah.
having little me time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I did that. I couldn't do it now. I don't think. Maybe I could. I don't know. I was at a point in my life.
You have a very supportive wife. I mean, I think that a partner that is supporting you.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's definitely a huge piece of it. 100%. Yeah. I well, I think I mentioned earlier. I would have quit a dozen times along the way. She was, there telling me, no, you you can do this, and there was that. But balancing it was very difficult. I'm not gonna lie, because and I'm not exaggerating when I say I would wake up in the morning, I'd drive to the winery, I'd work all day long, I'd get home, I'd eat dinner, help put the kids to bed, and then I'd go right into my office there, and I would work sometimes till 4 or 5 in the morning, get an
oh
hour or
wow.
two of sleep, wake up, do it again, and that was my world. But a lot of that, was it wasn't just because I'm a hard worker. It was circumstances. We were not in a position in our lives financially, and with the kids at home and everything. This is while the recession was going on. We had bills to pay and a mortgage that we could barely, or really at that point couldn't afford. So a lot of it was just out of necessity. I didn't want to give up on the dream, but I saw the opportunity that if that dream were to pay off, that you know, it was a way out of the mess that I was in, the financial mess. I I set a goal for myself that I wanted to retire by the age of 40. I'm 44 right now. I'm not retired, but um, I came pretty darn close to hitting that goal. And um, setting personal goals is important too. I think when you visualize something, where you kind of manifest it, I guess, you
Hmm.
start to picture your life, your lifestyle, you're setting expectations and goals, but you're visualizing that all along the way. It has a way of,
Yeah.
of sort of happening, I've found. Um, but it's not just, you can't just sit and meditate on it, 24 hours a day. You gotta put in the work. But
Right.
if you're visualizing the end goal and the steps that each step along the way to get to that goal, and those are short-term steps. I mean, what am I going to do today? And I would take, I still do it. I have my to-do list that I write down every morning. I sit down and write it. It's just a checklist of things. I'm not going to get up until I cross out all these items. That's that's my short term, and those things, that it's amazing if you can just set those daily goals and cross them out, how quickly you start rolling toward the bigger, longer term goals. And so that was important, goal setting. Um, but balance was hard. Little kids, my reason why I wanted to
Yeah.
retire early was because I didn't want to miss my the most, I don't know, exciting years of my kid's life. I didn't want to
Yeah.
spend that chained to a desk. So um, I tried to involve them when I could in some of my work. Um, Weekends are sacred. I don't work weekends. I don't think.
Even when you were doing your double, so you took weekends and said, These are the 2 days that are
Yeah,
mine."
never ever work weekends.
That's
And I
powerful.
don't ever, my employees, I don't like hearing that they work weekends. If they do, that's on them. I would never ask someone to work outside of really a 9 to 5. I think people
Mm-hmm.
get a lot more done um, when they are well rested and when they're balanced, mentally balanced, and they're
Yeah.
happy, healthy people. I think staying active for me, it's running, up in the mountains, a trail run, a mountain bike. I get out into the dirt where people can't find me, and I spend hours.
No cell phone.
Yeah, and that's where all my best you know ideas come to me. I'll be running along, and then I'm always thinking about work, but it's still it's a release, and so that, and then therapy, right? I'm not one to you know be shy about saying, I had a life coach along the way, a
Uh-huh.
professional
Yep.
coach, which is just a nice way of saying I had a counselor or a therapist that I worked with, and he happened to help me a lot in making sure that I was finding that balance and that I was prioritizing areas of my life beyond just being an entrepreneur or a business owner.
That's great advice, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, the top sports people in the world have multiple coaches and therapists, and people. There's not just the body; it's the mental game too.
Mhm.
So I think that is fantastic advice to give.
Yeah,
Get a coach, get a life coach, or a therapist to help you with your mental
yeah,
game.
and hobbies, things that are not work that keep you happy and fulfilled. I always have to have something to do. Actually, I just noticed in the reflection of the reflection, because it's getting dark outside, you can see that I'm sitting in my garage. I don't know if you can make it out, but um, my home office is in my workshop. One of my favorite things, I build things, whether that's a company or a bathroom remodel or a bench, whatever it is. I like to work with tools and get outside, and so I surround myself. I purposely put my home office in my workshop because I there's something that I like about being around the sawdust and the tools, and
Yeah,
it feeds my creativity.
creating.
Uh,
You're a creator and a creative. Yeah. That's great, Dave. Well, that this has been such a wonderful time, just chatting with you and hearing about your successes and some tips, and also just some really great advice, I think, for anyone in the similar journey or thinking about building a business, running a business. A lot of great tips, and I really appreciate your sharing.
yeah, absolutely. I
Really
hope I
wonderful.
was helpful in some way. It
Oh,
shouldn't.
yeah, definitely.
Goes without saying you were along for a lot of that journey, so I had
I
to
know.
give you proper credit because I've been working with you for, gosh, I don't know how many years now, but
Yeah, yep. I'll never forget the intern or the young girl that I had working for me at the time, and we were talking. She was trying to help me build my business, and I was like, "You just here's some people to call, just pay." And so she went through. We found you in the I don't know, what's a business journal or something like that. Somebody had done a write up on you, and she's like, "What about this guy?" I said, "Call him." And she called you, and you picked up, and then you and I started talking.
yeah,
It
well,
was great.
I'm sure I was just sitting in that little office that we started in with, wondering, why the phone never rang. So when it suddenly rang,
Yeah.
I was I wore many hats back then. And,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
I know. I'm still wearing a lot of hats. Yep. But it's my org chart is getting bigger, so that's good.
yeah,
I'm wearing less
yes,
hats.
it's me too, and it's great because as business grows, another tip I would always have for people is take off every hat that you possibly can and put it on a more capable head. Right? I don't like
Uh,
I didn't know how to. I did sales. I did marketing. I did finance. I did everything for our business at one point or another. But I always
right.
knew that there's somebody far more capable to take on those every one of those tasks than me. My
Yeah. Yeah.
job now is to help make sure that they have the resources they need to be successful in what they're
Yeah.
doing, and to
Yep.
it's more about a supporting role. You know, it's a leadership. I
Yeah.
think has a lot to do with support. You know, it's
Yep.
um, you know, if you see
Well said.
something, a fire burning, it's your job to go try and put it out. But it's also, you know, to listen and to understand the needs of those people in that area. That what's going to, you know, help not only put that fire out, but make their job easier or make them more efficient.
You've been listening to Rev Up. I'm your host, Roxanne Alanis. To listen to other episodes and learn more about our guests and to rev up your revenue, visit revuppodcast.com.